Imagine you dig a trap to destroy your enemy, and then fall into it yourself. That's exactly what Iran just did in the Strait of Hormuz. Right now, beneath those dark waters, hundreds of naval mines are silently drifting, and here's what nobody's saying out loud. Iran has completely lost track of them. The monster it created is now eating its own creator. And while Tehran is drowning in this mess, someone else is sitting back, watching, and counting their money. That someone is Russia. Today we're going to break down exactly what happened in Hormuz, why America's warships just sailed into a minefield on purpose, and who is actually winning this crisis, because the answer is not who you think. On April 11th, two of America's most powerful warships, the USS Frank E. Peterson Jr. and the USS Michael Murphy, both Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers, entered the Strait of Hormuz. These are not mine-clearing ships. These are floating fortresses. Each one carries the Aegis combat system, radar networks that can track hundreds of targets simultaneously across hundreds of miles. So why send these ships into a minefield? Because this mission was never just about clearing mines. It was a message. The moment these destroyers entered the strait, Iranian Revolutionary Guard naval units immediately moved to intercept them. Radio warnings went out. This is your final warning. The tension peaked when US forces allegedly destroyed an Iranian-directed drone mid-operation. Tehran then did something revealing. They publicly denied the transit ever happened. They claimed the American ships turned back after receiving warnings. But satellite imagery and CENTCOM's own announcement told a different story. The ships passed through, the operation launched, and the mine-clearing mission is now officially underway. When a government lies about something this visible, it tells you one thing: they're scared. Here's where this story gets genuinely terrifying. Iran's Revolutionary Guard used small, fast boats to lay mines quickly and irregularly across the street. Moored contact mines, magnetic and acoustic triggered mines, and free drifting mines that move with the current. The problem, the Persian Gulf's strong bottom currents have pushed many of these mines miles away from where they were originally placed. Iran built a maze and then lost the map. This isn't a strategic minefield with controlled coordinates, it's chaos. And chaos in a waterway where 20% of the world's entire oil supply passes through every single day is a catastrophe waiting for a trigger. 3 massive supertankers have already crossed Hormuz following the ceasefire, but they did so knowing they were gambling with billion-dollar cargo and human lives against invisible drifting metal spheres packed with explosives. To actually clear this, the US is deploying autonomous underwater drones, AI-guided vehicles that can sweep the seafloor silently, map mine positions, and neutralize them without putting a single sailor at risk. This is the real mission. The destroyers were the announcement. The underwater drones are the actual operation. But here's where Washington's strategy goes far beyond mine clearing. After nuclear talks in Pakistan collapsed without a deal, 21 hours of negotiations, 0 agreement, Trump went on social media and dropped a phrase that sent shockwaves through every intelligence agency in the region: the out-blockade. Here's what that means in plain language. If Iran refuses to fully reopen Hormuz, the US Navy doesn't just escort ships through, it takes over the strait completely. Every vessel entering or leaving gets checked by the American Navy. Washington decides who passes and who doesn't. Iran's entire say over Hormuz, gone, overnight. To enforce this, the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is already positioned in the region. F-35s and F-18s ready to establish an air umbrella over the entire strait. Arleigh Burke destroyers and Ticonderoga cruisers building a literal wall of steel across the entrance. P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol appcraft covering every inch of the surface from above. If this blockade goes live, analysts estimate it would cut off roughly 70% of Iran's daily oil exports. Not sanctions, not pressure, a physical military shutdown of Iran's economic lifeline. Trump also said something that deserves attention. We will open that strait even if we don't use it, because we didn't get help from NATO. That's not just aggressive rhetoric, that's a warning to Europe. Get involved or we do this alone and you deal with the consequences. Let's zoom out and look at what Iran actually achieved with this strategy. Before the war, Iran was exporting roughly 1.5 million barrels of oil per day, nearly all of it through Hormuz. Its own mines are now blocking its own exports. Oil has surged past $128 per barrel. Insurance premiums for ships crossing the Gulf have multiplied several times over. Most tankers are still refusing to take the route, and Iran, the country that triggered all of this, cannot use its own primary source of income. The economic damage inside Iran right now is severe. The rial has collapsed further. Import costs have exploded. The population is absorbing the shock of a government that weaponized the only economic artery keeping the country alive. And here's the geopolitical consequence that will outlast this crisis. The longer Hormuz stays dangerous, the faster the world builds alternatives. Saudi Arabia's East-West pipeline, the UAE's Fujairah bypass, new LNG terminals, accelerated renewable energy investment. Every month Hormuz stays closed, Iran's Trump card loses permanent value. The world is literally engineering Iran out of its own leverage.